Okay, yeah.
Full screen, alright.
Yeah.
I see.
And
Okay.
also has some problem with it, and the first one, the most mechanism is just lacking of the theoretical framework. I didn't build the structure on how to explain this kind of behavior and issues. The first one is going to be the title, and the second one is the introduction, and the third one is the research goals and the significance, and the fourth is the research review, and the data are still locked off the literature review of the social divide and the inequality. I'm trying to get adding these things to it. And finally, just going to be the methodology, but the methodology is already been modified to another version. Maybe I could explain further. And the sixth is just going to be the reference, some part of the reference. Let's please go on to the next page. So the first one is the title of the research subject. It's exploring the interplay between the personal data infringement and digital control disparity. Actually, it's just going to be some kind of simple, non-modified title of it. It's going to want to talk about the relationship between the data infringement behaviors and these kind of deviant behaviors, and how it is going to affect or maybe shape or maybe structure construct the digital intelligence disparity. And maybe it just could be some kind of have both the effective or influence about both sides. Let's get to the next part. So you could be the introduction. Actually, at the introduction part, we're just going to talk about how these things could be matter and how this come to this part. And I have this question, I have this doubts about our society. For the first part, I'm not going to read this kind of paragraph. As the first part, as we know, this kind of rising of the digital age have already created kind of systematic risk about the personal data, the personal information, the personal privacy could be offense in this age by anyone, any movement. And anyone, any behaviors, any movement you just get involved in the internet can leak any kind of information to some kind of unauthorized users, some unauthorized actions can get access to personal data, and it could be some kind of created some kind of weak spot, some suspect or some kind of people, individual, or maybe organization with this kind of how could I say that? Evil motivation. Next slide, please. And in this increasing digital world, so everyone get associated. So we leave at that. It could be some kind of major problem we should concern about. This research is going to focus on this deviant behaviors and the internet, especially when they get a social interaction on the social media platform, such as Weibo, WeChat, all these kind of things. But it could be some kind of Chinese problem, but it is also have the global view. We can create a global view of that. Next, please. Talking about the research goals and the significance, for this part, this study is designed to investigate the prevalent issues of the personal information infringement on the internet, particularly on the social media platform and within China. But it could be modified. China, maybe some kind of region, I will just choose especially platform to analyze. Use the pattern to to grab those interaction context and try to analyze that. So it's into the root causes, and then just because talking about the root causes and underlying the mechanism. And of course, in our work we just focus on create a kind of to discover a mechanism that could affect these kind of things. So subsequently, and attempt to uncover the overreaching pattern of how this information may potentially shape the structure of the inequality through the individual digital intelligence. Next. So for some kind of special objective for the first one, we're just going to examine the current status of the personal information on the internet in China. So at this part, I will use the survey, some questionnaire to get some kind of to try to scrape the statute, the kind of statute of this kind of different behavior. So the second one is just going to investigate the causes and the mechanisms influence the occurrence of the personal information and behaviors. So actually just going to divide it into some questions or issues I still have a concern. So am I just going to focus on the victim side, or just going to focus on the particularly the suspect, who they committed this kind of different behaviors from which side is just that. So maybe I will just discuss later. And it's going to be third part to discuss the impact of digital social networking on the personal information and management. And this part is just going to talk about the outside causes about how this behavior been created, such as the liberation system and the policy system and all these kind of things could be influenced from the outside. So, fourth part is going to list the effective strategies to combat, and this kind of things so there's just going to be some addition of this research. So, actually, I think I'm just going to do some kind of explanation to discover this mechanism, which is going to be a huge effort that I can work on. Some kind of combined some policy, just going to get addition effects of. So next, please. So the importance of this research is just about some reasons. One sentence can describe it. Just because every one of us use the internet on the cell phones, get involved in this kind of matter universe, and we have to be aware of what we can help to protect all the peace of our life. So next, please. Literature review. I'm just going to talk about each side and talking about each part.
Maybe just go ahead. You don't have to just present what you want to present to me.
Yeah.
You want to present to this Thursday. You present, right?
Yeah.
That's the presentation.
Yeah. So maybe I should be quick. The protection of the personal information in digital age. And at this part, we are just going to talk about some basic idea about and discussion about the European, the Chinese, and the American privacy law, and how they're just going to protect. We just aim to protect the personal privacy. And talking about the legal system and how they affect it. And the second part is just going to be social networking and personal information. And this part I'm just going to have some literature review about the social interaction, especially during an online and some definition about the personal information and how it just becoming some kind of different recognition of that. And the third part is just going to the personal information enforcement in digital age, talking about this kind of behaviors. So which like this, I didn't put it in my PowerPoint. It's just going to be the fourth part. It's just going to be the social divide and in the digital age. And that part is going to talk about the third surface of the social divide and how it is associated with some kind of how do you say that the weaker group, the weaker society group, I don't know, some kind of society group, they will suffer in low social status. When they're just going to be easily to be the target of this kind of information movement. Just trying to create some kind of a connection between the third level of the social divide and the personal privacy protection about this part. So please, a quick slash to maybe I can show that.
Cool, continue.
I know. It's just going to be the definition about personal information.
Okay.
Okay, just slightly skip that quickly. Methodology. Methodology, the early version of it is just going to be 3 parts. But actually, I just trying to modify this. It's just going to be some kind of quantitative survey and the qualitative interviews. These 2 parts, and I deleted the case study, and just because it's not going to easily find a complete case to support the research. So click go. Qualitative interview. And this part, this is going to be some kind of, especially aiming to sampling 10 professionals from the Personal Information Protection Agency and 10 victims, 10 victims. But I think the number of the interviewers will just going to be limited. Maybe I just increase that. It depends on how many people I can find. Second one is just going to be the one-on-one interview, and each approximately going to be 60 minutes long. Get out in person. About this part is just about the samples, the difficulty to reach those samples. 10 victims I can find, about 10 professionals from the cybersecurity department. I would be a little concerned about that. So at this part, we're just going to be some kind of early stage of the research and trying to get an understanding, trying to get the early stage of description of the research and trying to end the target of the next stage. So please move on to the next one. Case study, I already deleted that. Sorry.
Just keep it there.
Yep. So quantitative survey. It was just going to be a questionnaire about one thousand individuals. Actually, it's just about and choose a different level and the different region. And I found I should add some kind of social network and analysis. This method I used the initiative, the program, to try to get an understand how the how this could get sorry. What was I supposed to say? Okay, we just cover all the key purpose related to the internet usage, experience, the presentation, the perception of the personal information crime. Actually, it's not going to be a crime. It's just going to be some kind of legal behaviors. It's just sometimes it is quite quite straight to distinguish the crime and the illegal behaviors. Trying to use the OLSM regression model to choosing for the capacity of the determining of the relationship between the multiple independent values and the dependent values. Yeah. Next, please. Preference. It's true, there's just some part of that. Maybe you will ask why I choose so many Chinese framework, Chinese article about that, then that's just could be the limit of this stage's ideas. I will just expand this kind of literature. Thank you very much. I think that's the part. Maybe you're just going to be the question.
Okay. Done. All right. Okay. Now your time first. Your time is about about 20 minutes. Is a bit too long. Almost 20 minutes.
Almost.
Almost.
Okay. I'll reply that.
So you got to make sure you manage your time correctly. Let's start from the title. Let's go ahead. Now, what we plan to do today is because three of you, Hanif and Pizarro, will be presenting, right? This Thursday is being rescheduled from Wednesday to Thursday. Because Wednesday we have a talk from this distinguished professor coming over here and give a talk. You're all welcome as well. Now, it's about preparing that, but it's also to give you input about your long-term research, not just for this coming Thursday. But now the urgent attention is for your coming Thursday presentation, right? Okay. Alright. Title need to improve. We'll revisit this title once we discuss the rest. We'll come back. Exploring the interplay between personal data infringement and digital intellectual disparity. Doesn't give a context there. No, are you studying the whole world or China or what? Which part of the globe are you studying? So you got to contextualize it a bit. So you got to come back to improve your title, right? Now I do not know whether you can improve it and present the improved version, because you have actually submitted your video, you have submitted your write-up as well as slides. You can ask whether you could do the new slides. I suppose you could, right? Because you will need to improve that. So if you want to improve the title, we'll go back to the title. You need to improve the title. Now, the presentation. Before I go into that, you want to be clear in the communication and presentation. So you do not want to ramble too much, right? This is not, supervision. We can be more relaxed. For presentation, we want to be more, systematic and persuasive as well, right? So avoid words like I don't know, and at the end of the statement you say I don't know. You do not want to say that. The examiner says, well, I don't know too. What do you want to do? Well, tell me what you want to do. Don't put a question. Should I do this? I don't know. They are evaluating you. So if you're not sure, then don't give them a choice. Choose this or that. No. So be clear. And then if you have a lot of words there, right? If you have a lot of words there, then you got to be clear about, okay, I have 3 things I want to convey in this slide. 1, 2, 3. Right? For instance, or 4 things or 5 things. Yeah. So otherwise you'll be talking here and there, and you do not know what we want to convey through this slide or at this point, right? So be clear. There are three things I want to say here, or two things, or only there's one more most important thing I want to say here. This is what I want to say, right?
Yeah.
So right. So do that, right?
Okay.
Instead of going all over the slide, not sure what you're
Yeah.
doing, right? And then if you're reading something from the slide, complete the sentence.
Okay.
There are times that you just stop there in the middle and then suddenly you add your own editorial comment to the whatever you have written there. So if you're reading a sentence and which you did in the objectives, now you stop and come back, and then I don't know what happened after that. So you want to read the whole sentence, right?
Yep.
I mean, so this is about the presentation, but about the communication bit, right? So that is, this is important because it has to do with presentation, right? Okay. If you go to the next one, Hanif, right? Introduction and all that. Okay. Research goals, right? Research goals.
Okay.
Up there, right? So the term we use is not goals. The term we use is research objectives or research questions. Right. So you want to have your research questions. You want to have research goals. Right. You do not want to have a discussion about your research goal. So this is, I'm not sure this is like a discussion about the goals, right? Then keep it separate from the research. Research. If you want to call it research objectives, research questions, right? So you want, and then you want to enumerate them, list down 1, 2, 3, 4, right?
Okay.
Instead of bullet point, it's 1, 2, 3, 4. This is where you improve your research questions. So it's not research goals and significance, it's research questions, research objectives, / research and objectives, right? So you want to improve. Now let's look into your research questions, which is here in words, right? In words. To examine the current status of personal information infringement on the internet in China, right? Okay. When you say current status of personal information infringement, is there scope to that, or all kind of personal information infringement, or you just like mapping it, or what?
Actually, it's just going to be some scope.
So?
It could be some scoping on that. It's just not all the kind of informations. It's going to be some kind of information stealing and information exploitation.
Information? One is stealing, the other one?
暴露
Expose.
Exposure, yeah.
Exposure.
Exposure. Okay, when you say exposure, current status of information infringement, right, so we say exposure is when I give my data and then what happened to that data?
No, just about some hacking, and then they hack your personal data. So especially some privacy data.
Yes.
And just trying to expose this on the internet.
Expose it. Oh, so it's not
Yeah,
just stealing, but exposing it.
Yeah,
okay,
just because this kind of could be some early stage of the cyber violence.
All right.
Cyber
So
violence.
get the right terminology. I'm not sure it's exposure or expose. Find the right. This is a terminology. Just check the terminology because I don't know the terminology as well.
Yes.
So check that one. Okay, and then in China, you're not studying the whole China. Are you studying the whole China or what?
If you're just going to be on the internet, and then it just especially focus on the social media, and it could be all over China.
Could be all of China. All right. This is where the scope is important here. So, are you talking about social media? If it's social media, is there particular social media? Is there, I'm talking about, so the context, the scope. How big is your research, or how focused is your research?
Yeah.
So it's something you want to be clear about.
Yeah.
Right? From when to when, maybe there's a temporal
yeah.
scope, right? There's a
Yeah.
geographical scope, right? And there's also that
Yeah, because that could be a time.
dimensional scope, meaning the type of personal information infringement.
Yeah.
So here you're on the internet, so
Yeah.
Right, so-
thank you, Professor.
Yeah,
I didn't mention that.
so
I didn't notice.
now you could have something general, but you can have this is research question or research objective number 1. Then you can
Mhm.
have 1.1, 1.2, 1.3, right?
Yeah.
So you say specifically, I'm researching on this
Yeah.
particular geography, a geographical area, or
yeah. Geographies.
or time, and then dimensions
Ah.
of the infringement, right? You say it's about personal information theft, personal information exposure. For like go back to what I don't know what the word is. You focus on if when we say that is that will cover individual, institutional, whatever, and all that, right? So these are different ways of scoping it, slicing it, your research. So you want to be more specific.
Yeah.
So that would be question number 1, right? So I don't know how big the question is because I'm imagining this big because it's the whole of China. Right? So there might be questions there you need to be able to answer. Right? And social media, there's a lot of social media out there too. Right? So maybe you want to focus on the certain social media only, or you say, well, I have access to all personal information infringement. So I will, for instance, you can make the argument if you have access to that, right? If you have access to that, so if you have access to that, then you can say that you will be able to see the different types of social media. Right? So this is how, depending on what you want to do, or personal information infringement reported. That's being reported, right? Reported. So you're looking at reported cases, right? Because reported cases.
So am I just going to talk about the dark figure of the crime?
Figure is in numbers.
Yeah, dark figure. It's a conception of the.
Yeah, it is. But you don't know how many cases and all that, right? Yeah, you just went to.
They didn't being reported.
It has been reported, right?
It has been reported, so I can track the status.
Yes.
But if it's not been reported, then just going to be the dark figure of the crime.
That's right. So you need to be clear in your research objective. You'll be covering both or just reported data or what, right? So that is something that you need to handle because there are data that's not being reported too, or not officially reported that they might report in some the blacklists.
They were maybe some blacklists. Maybe they were just going to be some explanation when the victims will just tell the others.
So they did not report to the police or whatever. They report to friends or whatever. So that you will need to be able to discuss those methods, deliberate those methods, right? So are you covering both, or how are you covering this, or you're leaving it to not just reported cases, you're also open to other non-reported cases, meaning officially reported, right? So reported will be coming from the authorities, right? The non-official can be the blacklist, and blacklist can, I'm talking about the blacklist, right? Not the TV series Blacklist, which is my favorite, but the blacklist that in social media there's They say, they report on somebody. Be careful. This is a fake account. This is I have been cheated by this person. This person had ghosted. And all that.
It could be some kind of official ways and etc.
Non-official
Individual,
ways,
not official.
So you want to discuss that, in your
It could be some.
Okay, that is to know what the current status is. Now you're going to the research person to investigate. To investigate the causes and mechanisms influencing the occurrence of personal information infringement behaviors. Okay, what do you have in mind here?
Maybe this is not going to be investigated, it's just going to be discovered.
Okay, what do you expect to find as the causes and mechanisms?
This kind of mechanism, we're just going to be the high internet users, we're just going to be create some kind of open access to this kind of systematic risk of the influence to this kind of deviant behaviors.
Okay.
And the second is going to be the globalization and the rise and digital society.
Sorry, are you checking on people coming in also?
And this kind of rise of digital society already created kind of pressure.
Okay, so
Force the individual to get involved in this kind of cyber interaction, and actually they were not originally technically be well prepared to get involved in this kind of society, such as the elderly, such as the non-original citizen, non-original settlers of the internet.
Not native, not digital native.
Digital
That's what
native.
you do,
I'm talking about digital native. So they're not digital native. So there's lack of this kind of defense ability to avoid getting themselves in this kind of high risk. But they were forced to get involved in this social transaction.
Alright, okay. So when you use the word causes, you're using a very strong word there. Mechanism. You could use that word. You're using a very strong word. Because if we have only variables, you can establish, you only have correlation, you can establish causality. Causes is causality, right? But doesn't mean you cannot investigate that. But the causality can be, multi-layered or multi-dimensional. It could also be regulation as a causal context, because people may argument because the penalty, the sanctions, the punishment is not strong enough, or the internet, they can talk about culture, the internet culture is a free, open culture, always resistance against regulation, against the control, so that is another part. You can talk about, the big hackers, their own motivation, which is also a cause for hacking, right, or stealing, so that is another type of causes, right? So there are many different.
Mainly, and this is part of the way I was thinking about to use the social control theory and talk about this digital transaction. The social control has already released, and even we just created a legal system to try to control this kind of human behaviors, but actually it's just going to be some conflicts with the original spirits of the internet, the free, open, and these kind of things. So this kind of social control as the original social norm, which is dysfunction in the cybernetic world. So this kind of could it be some kind of explanation of how these kind of different behaviors occurs?
Yeah. So what you want to do is to be able to what is it? To map out, to identify those things in your research questions. So and maybe word it in a way that is not so strong. And if you're not talking about mechanism, because mechanism you need to show. This is like, remember Muzakir? He was looking at mechanism. Right? So you know the how A and B leads to C and D, and then there's also F coming in there. You know, so that's the mechanism. You know, so like a car.
Create some kind of a route map.
Something like that. The model. So there's the hackers, there's the law, legal, there's a technology part, right? Technology that allows it, or you know, the loopholes in the technology, also another part. Then you talk about the ability of the users, right? You know, kind of thing. You know, so there's this whole almost like ecology of factors, right? Many different factors coming together, right? Then you can get mechanism, right? But if you're doing something that a bit more, then you can talk about to investigate the possible factors. Possible factors influencing the occurrence of that. So you're keeping it lighter, not a stronger statement, but you will say cause, you got to establish causality. The factors need not be causality. So there's contextual factors, there's legal factors, there's motivational factors, there's cultural factors, there's skills, knowledge factors, right? So that would be another way to rephrase this, since it's not as strong, right? Now, if you're doing that, then you have the third one. You talk about impact of digital social network, personal information infringement. So this is in a way connected, right? Is it?
This is quite the same. So maybe I'll just try to combine it together to
you can have a sub question to question number 2, right? What is the connection between digital social networking and personal information infringement? And then remember this one thing: connections many times they are not linear, and it's not unidirectional. Meaning, linear is this way, unidirectional A leads to B, right? Sometimes it's dialectical as well. So the linear connection sometimes could be problematic in reality, because it could be the social networking influencing personal information infringement, but it could also be the opposite, or dialectical, right? So question number 3 there, this is 1, 2, 3. Remember to number it, right? There's that, and then this is to put in under question number 2. If you want to look at digital social networking, in a way you already have a little hypothesis or theory, then you want to.
So I have to list the hypothesis?
You don't have to, not in the research question, but I can see that you already have something in mind that you want to see the connection between digital social networking and right. So in the factors, the question number 2 here, to investigate the factors. The factors can be legal, you know, you can list them down a bit, right? So that the evaluators can see, you have certain framework or possible categories of factors. Can be technological, right? If hacking technology is not available, it's not easy to hack, right?
But mostly I'm just not going to talk about the hacking technology.
Okay, is that right? You know, there's there's a market for the sale of personal data as well.
Yeah.
There's a market for that. You know, you buy personal data.
Yeah.
All right. There's a
Yeah.
market for that. There's also black market for that, meaning
Yeah.
underground market for that as well.
Yeah.
Right? There's also theft happening, physical theft. You know, I know. Not just insurance, like credit card company, right?
Yeah.
Credit card company will buy personal data,
Yeah.
personal data.
Mm.
So they will go to this place to buy personal data. On the way back, this person who is on the motorbike
Yep.
would sell it to another person. That happens,
Yeah.
right? It's personal data, right? Because the credit card agent or agency or the subcontractor, they need the data to call people to get
Yeah.
credit card.
Mostly we're just an organization. We're just buying this kind of data. We're just trying to use it in a commercial.
Yes, it could be organization. It could be small setups.
Yep.
So it's like a bank
Yeah.
or a branch bank. A branch.
A branch bank.
A branch bank, a small bank in a town, right? So they want to get data of the people in the town. So they buy the data and they will call individually. So what they do, not the bank hire an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
Entrepreneur set up the place with tables and chairs
Yeah.
to make the
Okay.
calls. So they, for every customer they get, they pay some. So there's something like that. So there's such setup, right? There's something like that happening. So it could be individual, it could be a little team doing that,
Yeah.
right? And then same go for scammers. That's how scammers work as well.
Yeah.
Scammers do the same thing. Man, there's people catching new scammers. I wish China would come up with laws executing scammers. Would be good. I'm for that. Yes.
We have that. We have that kind of liberation.
Because scammers usually target old people as well, not just young old people as well. That is sympathize that old people. They have a lot of investment in money saving. They take away all the saving for the scammers. You know what I'm talking about? They say scammers, right? Okay, so this is number 1 and 2. So
Yep.
3 can be subsumed under 2, right?
Okay.
Number 3, which is the last one, to propose
Yeah.
effective strategies to combat crime, personal information security. You want to have that, but you do not want to have that as your research question, right?
Yeah.
Because if you have that as your research question, then the test will be effectiveness of your strategies.
Yeah.
How can you demonstrate the effectiveness?
Yeah.
But keep this in your discussion chapter, right?
Yeah.
You can discuss this in the discussion chapter. So now you actually have 2 research questions or research objectives. Right? You can maintain these 2, you can expand to another 3 if you want, but these 2 is
Maybe 2 research questions
workable.
is just quite large. Maybe I should make it more detailed at that.
You could break up the first, the second, and okay, break up, but
Yeah.
do not run away from what you want to do, right?
Yep.
So keep, you will have to have too many research questions.
Keep saying things organized.
Yes. Now, this is my old supervisor advising me last time. He said, Reef, be careful. If you don't ask too many smart questions. You've got to answer them all.
Yeah.
You've got to answer your smart questions. You be careful. So you're smarter not to ask too many questions, right? So that you can prove, you can find the findings. Okay, so this is your research questions. You're taking some time now. Pronounce okay. Literature review. Could we go to literature review now? Literature review. What you want to do? You have all this is your literature review, right? So what you want to do is again make it more concise. Maybe point form. You can have this.
Okay.
As an additional slide, but so what you want to do, literature review, names, who says what, who says what,
Create
just a little
Just
box.
make a list, not
Make a
table.
list or just make a table.
That's right. A table will do. Who says what, and then you can explain it.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
you do not want to take too long on the
Yeah.
dictionary.
Yeah. Sure.
Okay. A table of that. All right, and then let's look at methodology. Okay, methodology here.
Oh my god.
You have the qualitative and then you have the quantitative, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Alright.
So are you doing a sequential research here or not a sequential research or you have, I'm talking, or is it the quantitative is part of the qualitative? Certainly, I can see that it is not part of, because you have 1,000 here, 1,000 in quantitative, you have 10 and 10 here.
Yeah.
So
I also have this kind of problem why and how these two kind of research methods could combine together.
okay, if you do you have any thoughts about that yet?
Maybe as a first stage to consider the qualitative interview and just trying to gather the basic idea and how they just the personal explanation and how they feel about this kind of information behavior and a mass.
Okay. In
quantity.
that case, you are doing a sequential research. Sequential research is where you have qualitative and quantitative in a sequence, right?
Yep.
If you are doing qualitative first, in which you are doing now, right, and then you do quantitative, that is called the exploratory research. Mixed research. Alright. So you do want to have that in your methodology, right? And that's good because 10 would be good to start with your qualitative because you are focusing that to explore, right? So qualitative is to explore the possible variables, so to say. Yeah, you can talk about the various factors, you can talk about whatever, just to explore, to get the variables, to get the factors, right? So this is the qualitative interview. So to start up to just to explore, and then use quantitative to test it.
Yep.
Right. So you want to do the explanation then. Right? Why do we have this and then that? Yeah, in your methodology. You understand what I'm saying, right?
Yep.
So if you're doing quantitative, it's the opposite. If you're doing the explanatory, then if you do quantitative and qualitative, will be explanatory. So here you're doing exploratory, to explore.
Yeah.
So you explore first, and then you further develop your exploration into the possible factors that influence personal information information. Okay, so you explain that. You want to get there, and then you want to get right. And then you do want to explain why you say quantitative with quantitative.
Yep.
Why do you say stratified?
What? Did I say stress?
Stratified research. A bit more understand.
Yeah.
Okay, you think about it. You're ready to answer that question if somebody asks, yeah?
Yeah.
Be ready to answer that question.
Yeah.
Alright. And then finally, the important part is that the important words you want to pronounce it correctly, right? You want to know these are the keywords to your research. Data infringement.
Sorry.
They sound like a J. If it's like that, it's infringement. Right?
Yeah.
Intellectual. The T sounds like a C.
Yeah.
So intellectual, right? The T is silent. Intellectual, right? Disparity. So infringement, data infringement, and digital intellectual.
Yeah.
So because it's a keywords you need to pronounce it correctly.
Yeah.
Right? So let's go back to your title. Now, okay, what do you think your title now should be? The word exploring should be removed. Exploring should be removed.
I don't know. Because usually I'll just after finish the article I will see about the title.
Okay, do you think the title, so the way you improve the title, okay, you don't want the word exploring, right? Exploring is not important word here.
Yeah.
You do want to maintain personal data infringement, right? Remember your research questions is also about the factors, right? Influencing personal data infringement, right? Maybe you want to put that in your research, in your title. And the other one is the scope of your research,
Yep.
right? China, in China, at least it should say in China.
Yep.
Right? And then maybe the word internet, it should be in here too, because you're looking at the internet phenomena, right?
Yep.
So, okay, those are the main words that you want to redo your title with. Okay. And by the way, you don't even need the word, the interplay between. You don't have to. You can put the word and something. Right. Right. Okay. Yeah, the simple one might not be nice. No, it's not. It's not fancy. Personal data infringement. Factors. The status and factors of personal data infringement in China. That's the simplest one.
Okay.
Right? Status and factors of personal data infringement in China. That's the simple one. Right? In internet in China. Sorry, we want to use the internet because this is internet phenomena. Right? You're not looking at somebody going to somebody's house to steal data, or somebody going to some CIA, some place to steal.
What did that for?
Huh?
What did that for?
Okay.
Okay. Thank you.
All right. Done. So you do ask Dr. Tan whether you could submit a new slide.
Yeah.
Right. Because he is because you have submitted your work, and if you want to resubmit your presentation or whatever, I don't know, we could do that because now it's been brought to Thursday, not Monday now, right? So, but I think at the very least your presentation on Thursday should be the revised one, not this one. Okay? Yeah. All right. Pizarro, alright.
Which
Is
one?
Pizarro ready, right? Pizarro?
Yes, Prof.
Okay. Alright. Can we go there? Alright. Okay, you're ready then, huh? You do the improvement. Alright, can see other people. The Hansen is here, Chang is here. Kai Lai, what happened to you, Kai Lai? Chao Lei, welcome back. Okay, alright, if you're ready.
Yes, Prof.
Bismillah, the floor is yours.
Okay, thank you, Prof. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. For all, good morning for the center student and Prof. Rifani.
Yes.
In this moment, I would like to give presentation on my PhD research proposal. I already submit to the centrist panel the international political talk of Muhammad Nasir and his role in the solidarity war with Muslim wars in the 20th century. This title I found after discuss with Prof. Rifani a few months ago in Penang. First, I would like to share regarding on the problem statement. Muhammad Nasir actually is the leading Muslim politician in Indonesia and the key figure in Islamic revolution in Indonesia. He was the chairman of the biggest Muslim party in Indonesia, Masyumi Party, which finished the second in the first general in 1955 after the Indonesian National Party founded by President Sukarno. And Nasir also better known when he initiated the integral motion in Parliament to unite the 15 divided territories or the federal states in Indonesia, and the integral motion success to change Indonesia from the federal system to the United Republic of Indonesia or unitarism. And our Indonesian Vice President Muhammad Hatta said the Nasir Integral Motion as the Indonesia's second proclamation because it's the a great event at the time, and President Sukarno appointed Nasir after the Integral Motion as the first Indonesian Prime Minister under the unitarism or the United Republic in Indonesia. So Nasir has color Indonesian politics with his view of making Islam of the foundation of the state through the constitutional road, and he avoid the violence way like the Darul Islam or the ITII. Nasir keep on the track with the constitutional road, and he is moderate, modernist, and propose Islam as the constitutional base of the Indonesian state. And the problem is instead of as the international actor, many study just position Nasir as the local actor, just in the home player. Actually, Nasir has the good view in the foreign policy, and Muhammad Hatta include the speech of the Muhammad Nasir in his book, The Basic Foreign Policy of the Republic of Indonesia. It is the great book to give position Indonesia as with the independent and the active foreign policy or diplomacy bebas aktif in bahasa. And actually, Nasir concentration in the Muslim world is not restricted to the state of Indonesia, but extend beyond the international realm. And his principle was the dakwah as the interested or the concern to him. And at that time, Nasir motion on Vietnam to address dispute between United States and Soviet Union was finally put by Indonesian Parliament at that time. So I read many books and documents. So Nasir actually was not the local player, but also the global actor. And Nasir proposed the Indonesian government wait for complete information for recognizing the Vietnam. And according to Ridwan Saidi, he is the historian and politician in Indonesia. Nasir engages in independent and active diplomacy that benefit neither the Soviet Union nor the United States, and Nasir has paved the way for the formation of the third power in the midst of the global political arena. We know that after that, Indonesia, as the initiator of the non-aligned movement, initiated by President Sukarno, but that, according to Ridwan Saidi, actually Nasir was the first initiator to pave way for the formation of the third power for Indonesia in the midst of the global politics arena. And Nasir diplomacy in solidarity with the Muslim world. I already mapped the document or his work. There are church concerns on the Muslim world. First, the politics of anti-colonialism. Nasir fought to the independence of the Palestine, Algeria, Morocco, Tunisia, and others. And he made a reconciliation of the Muslim world in the context of Indonesia. First, the restoration of the Indonesian-Malaysia diplomatic relation in the 1960s. Even Nasir in the jail because the Sukarno president sent Nasir and the Masumi political leader to the jail because Nasir and the Masumi party against the dictatorship of the President Sukarno. And then Nasir always success to restoration Saudi-Indonesian diplomatic relation. And then in the 1980s, Suharto banned Nasir to go abroad. But even they just speak up regarding the international issues in Indonesia, he also concerned regarding the Soviet Union invasion of Afghanistan. Many the Afghanistan leaders come to Jakarta, meet to Nasir, discuss regarding the Soviet Union to the Soviet Union invasion to Afghanistan, Bosnian conflict, Muslim problems in the southern Philippines. Now southern Philippines getting the special autonomy from the Manila. But in the 1980s, the southern Philippines leader, Miswari, come to Jakarta, discuss to Nasir and others. Also the southern Thailand and others, any Kashmirs and the international issues, the other international issues. despite the fact that Nasir was instrumental in the Republic of Indonesia independence, his participation in the foreign policy has received little attention in the Indonesian book history, in the academic studies, because Suharto banned the Mazlumi party role in the history books in Indonesia, from the elementary school until the high school. So many people doesn't know in Indonesia doesn't know about the Nasir struggle, Nasir role in to establish the peace war or Indonesian independence. And despite the holding various key roles in the Republic of Indonesia, Nasir's name seemed to pale in comparison to the greatest other Indonesian founding fathers such as Soekarno, Sultan Syahrir, Muhammad Hatta, particularly in the term of his international politics idea and efforts to combat colonialism, imperialism, and establish world peace. Many studies in Indonesia or in abroad focus solely on Nasir function as a home player rather than the defining him as the global actor. Nasir's personality, beliefs cannot be captured by simply seeing him as the local character or local player. Nasir was engaged not only at home but also abroad, carrying out the various acts of international diplomacy, particularly in the cause of oppressed countries' independence. My research question, there are three. First, what are Nasir's views on the international policy? Because he combined international politics with the Islamic values. And then, what responsibilities did Nasir play in resolving Muslim world issue? And what are Nasir's contributions to the restoration of Indonesian relations with the Muslim countries? And then the research objectives, first, interpret the international political thought of Muhammad Nasir, and to identify the common rules of Muhammad Nasir in solving problems of the Muslim world. And third, to explain Muhammad Nasir's services in the restoring Indonesian relations with Muslim countries. And I already read many books in the last 5 years. No one, the academic studies or order in Indonesia or abroad, focusing or reveal the international political talk of Muhammad Nasir and his role in the diplomacy. Just focus in the Islamic talk of the Muhammad Nasir, dakwah of the Muhammad Nasir, education according to Muhammad Nasir, yeah, most integral according to Muhammad Nasir. No one capture a Nasir role in the international political arena. And my significant in this significant study, there are two. One goal to demonstrate Nasir is not only a local player in Indonesian policy, but also international player. Second, to identify Nasir foreign policy for viewpoint. And then the significant study, first, this research focus on the further elaborating the basis of Nasir foreign policy, which will be the first academic, according to me, research to comprehensively formulate Nasir global rationale. Second, this research want to focus on discovering Nasir rules in solving problems in the Islamic world, such as in colonialism in Africa, Middle East, and others. And third, this study seeks to learn about Nasir's efforts to mend Indonesian relations with the Muslim countries that have been strained as a result of Soekarno and Suharto policy, in particular our Indonesian dispute with the Malaysia. Methodology and data source. To address research question, researcher will employ the qualitative research and methodology technique can include collecting data from documents, archives, interview Nasir colleagues, and experts. The source used in this research are classified into two categories: primary resource, data from Nasir works, and the secondary sources or supporting data. And when collecting data, the step of research includes first literature review to locate the first source of data, particularly those relevant to the theoretical research design. And second, file research are conducted using the following techniques: document study, particularly those originating from the Muhammad Nasir, and interview, question and answer with the Nasir College during his lifetime. They are so out now, 70s and 90s, 70s, and 80s, and witness to the history of Nasir role in the international politics. That's my presentation regarding my PhD research proposal. Thank you for the floor.
Thank you, Prof. Thank you. Right, okay. Good, short and sweet there. Let's start from the beginning. the title, The International Political Thought of Muhammad Nasir and his role in the solidarity with Muslim world in 20th century. Okay, so you actually have a two-part
Yes, two-part.
two-part title, right? A two-part title. Right. We will revisit this title if and when necessary, depending on how you frame your research. So one, you're interested in Nasir's thought and his role in the solidarity with the Muslim world. Okay. Let's go to the next slide, please.
Okay, Prof.
Oh, you're controlling. Okay. Okay, continue after problem statement. Move on. Right, good. Problem statement. So, go to the next one. The next slide. All right. The next slide. Next slide. Okay. What seems to appear from your presentation, Zaro, is that you have arrived to some conclusion of what his political thought or his political philosophy is. Right? It seems like you already know, so you want to rephrase your presentation or your writing to show that you're researching on something that has not been researched before, instead
Yes.
of you're already making claims of
Yes.
what his thoughts, his contributions are. You want to be able to frame it as if you're researching on it, even though you already know some, at least, right? So you want to be careful with that approach to your writing, approach to your presentation. It's like you already know, so you want to confirm what you already know, basically, right? Or your literature review and your findings afterwards will look rather similar, right? Your literature review should be something what people has written, you give a background, and then what people have written, not your findings yet. Yeah, you do not want to make your literature review or your intro or your problem statement look like your findings. You want to separate those two, right? So that's something you want to figure out in your presentation, your thesis later. Let's move to the next one. Okay, your research question. Let's go through your research question. Your number one research question: what are the Nasir's views on international policy? Let's rephrase the word views with thoughts, right? Thoughts instead of views. Views will be something, just a perspective, but you want to go beyond perspective, beyond views. You want to go thoughts. In fact, your title is about thoughts. So you want to replace the word views with thoughts. Now, the other thing is about international policy. Are you just focusing on international policy or international affairs? Something that is bigger, not just policy, right? And then you talk about solidarity, you talk about peace and all that. That's not just policy. Maybe you want to replace the word policy with affairs or something that is broader, right?
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
You're not just looking at the policy, right? Why am
Okay.
I'm talking there, right? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
No worries.
I think
You can listen.
should be sure later on.
You can listen.
So that my voice is projected to the mic.
Yeah.
So that's the moment. What are Nasir's thoughts on international affairs or international politics, or something like that, international affairs. I think affairs would be wide, or if you can think of another word, go ahead. Right? But I think policy is a bit too strict, right?
Okay. So it's better I use the international politics, Prof. You mean like that?
International politics.
Okay.
What you say? I cannot hear you. Sorry.
So you suggest us to remove the international policy term, and I use the term of the international politics.
Affairs. I thought affairs would be better than politics.
Affair.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, because it's wider than affairs. Yeah. So politics is kind of limited because he's also promoting a kind of thinking philosophy as well. Now, question number 1 is also related to his Nasir's thoughts about Islam, right?
Yes.
Yeah? Okay. In which case, it's not just limited to just international, it's also his own domestic struggle, so to say.
Yes.
Yeah?
Yes.
Then, as you noted, he started out as a national leader, right? But he went beyond the national boundaries, national politics, into more international scene, right? So, do you want to pursue just on international affairs, or you want to talk about what are Nasir's thoughts on national and international affairs?
I just want to concern in the international affairs first.
Okay. All right.
Because Nasir talk in international and in the local politics or Indonesian politics, it's too much in Indonesia.
It's too much. All right. Good. All right. So, what about the Islamic angle there?
Yes, because Nasir was the chairman of the Muslim Masyumi Party, is the biggest Islamic party, and
Yes.
He has view on Islam and politics actually, including the international politics.
All right. I just want to cover your thesis strategies so that to make it it jives with your findings later on, right? So what are Nasir's views on you're also capturing the Islamic part, or you're not capturing the Islamic part, or you want to put the Islamic part as part of an international
Yes, Islamic talk as the part of international
affairs,
politics.
international thoughts.
That's it.
Okay, all right. Okay, we will come back to this question if necessary. We'll come back to it. Let's go to the question number 2, right? The question number: what responsibilities did Nasir play in resolving Muslim world issues? All right. And then you say what are Nasir's contribution to restoration of Indonesian relations with Muslim countries? So number 2 and number 3, there is overlapping questions, right? Because contribution and responsibilities kind of overlapping there. So you want to rethink about how you phrase question number 2, because the contribution is also part of his responsibility, maybe, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, because in the question 2, Nasir focused in regarding Palestinian, Algeria, Morocco, Kashmir, Southern Philippines, and question 3 just focus in Indonesian side, Prof. When Nasir contribution to the restoration Indonesia with the Malaysia and Saudi Arabia.
Alright, then that can be a sub question under question number 2. A question underneath question number 2, right? Because that is also his responsibilities, right?
Yeah.
Right? It could be seen as his responsibility as well in resolving Muslim world issues. So, it is a sub to question number 2. So it should be subsumed, resumed under question number 2. Now let's international affairs. Okay.
Yes, Prof. Let me add my view regarding the question 2.
Okay.
Actually, previously I want to using the colonialism actually, Prof.
Okay.
Concerning in the
Okay.
Palestine, Algeria, Morocco, and Tunisia. But in other side, Nasir always give concern regarding invasion. Between the colonialism and invasion, it's two different term in the international affairs. Yes. Let me give a example. Palestinian is the colonialism issue. But Afghanistan, Jordan, Philippines is regarding the what we call it invasion or a conflict, not just colonialism.
Okay. So that's towards question number 2, right?
Yes.
That's question number 2 there. So question number 1 has to do with his thoughts. Question number 2 and 3 has to do with his actions.
Yes, action.
Right? Question number 2 actions. So you know, you could split question number 2 and number 3 like this. Put number 3 as number 2. You can say, but what are the instead of contribution, you can use the contributions if you want. You can use the word role. So role number 1 he was playing was Indonesia relations with the Muslim countries. Role number 2 he was playing was beyond Indonesia, right? Can you see my point there, right? So question number 3 you make it question number 2. So because here is about Indonesia or Indonesian relations with Muslim countries. Question number 2 you put it number 3 because it has to do with, it's not about Indonesia anymore, it's about other Muslim countries. So so you can retrace that, but you just shift it around so it becomes logical. Right? So what role or what responsibilities that Nasir play beyond international, beyond the Indonesian relations with other countries. So you can put it under a bracket there. You know, what responsibility that Nasir play instead of resolving. It's not just resolving. Maybe you want to broaden the word in dealing with, you know, the word dealing with. So sometimes it's not only resolving; it's also about
dealing with this better.
Dealing with, right? So he talks about it, promoting it. You know, the Palestinian-Israeli issue has not been resolved, but you know, he's been dealing with it quite a bit. Alright, so shift it around so it makes more sense. So one is about Indonesia and Muslim countries. Number 3 is about Muslim world issues. Now, I have another question for you. Now, this Nasir's thoughts and actions, responsibilities and all, do they go beyond the Muslim issues, Muslim world, so to say? Right.
Pardon, Prof?
Here you have question number 2, number 3 is about the Muslim world, the Muslim issues, right? Muslim countries. But does Nasir do things beyond the Muslim world, Muslim countries, Muslim issues?
Yes, actually Nasir gave concern not only in the Muslim world. You know, a Vietnam War, it's the conflict in the Pacific Asia, in the Pacific region. It's not the Muslim world. And his motion proved by Indonesian House, Nasir demand Indonesia not support US nor pro Russia, not and not too pro-Russia, because Indonesia has the unique the foreign policy. It's namely is the diplomasi bebas aktif, Prof. Keep standing in the middle between the US and Russia.
Yeah.
The party President Nasir in beyond the Muslim world, it's so little, Prof. It's so little.
So
Just
okay.
yes.
So that's the question I have for you, because it seems that that's not covered in your questions here. You know, your research questions do not cover the non-Muslim world, so to say, right? So do you want to put that in? If you want to put that in, you can put it into the question 2. That can be question number 3 right now, right? So what responsibilities did Nasir play in dealing with international issues beyond Indonesia?
Okay.
What responsibilities did Nasir play in dealing with international issues beyond Indonesia, so to say? So it doesn't have to be about Muslim world. It can be about Vietnam. It can be other countries as well, right? So yeah. So it doesn't look like you're zooming in the issue of Muslim world, Muslim issues only. And by the way, does Nasir contribute to normalizing, restoration of Indonesian relations with other countries?
Nasir just give contribution to restore it just in 2 countries, Prof. Malaysia and Saudi Arabia.
Malaysia and Saudi Arabia, okay.
Yes.
Partly
But
because
he also
a Muslim
success
leader, right?
Yes, but he also success to invite the Japan investment to Indonesia, because Japan doesn't trust to Suharto era. But Nasir, even they are dispute with the Suharto, he's still trying the best to find the investment from the other countries to invest to Indonesia. It is they are the Japan and Kuwait, Prof.
And it was successful?
Yes.
Successful.
So, success.
All
So
right.
when Nasir passed away, the former of the Prime Minister of Japan giving the appreciation and the award to appreciation to the Nasir, because Nasir has the big role to the international issue.
All right. Then that's beautiful. Then it is because you're capturing Nasir's political or Nasir thoughts on international affairs, right? So he
Yes.
actually has a economic perspective too. He has a
Yes.
So let's rethink about your question number 3, which is question number 2 right now. What are Nasir's contribution to rebuilding Indonesia's relations with Muslim and non-Muslim countries? What are Nasir's contribution or role or responsibilities to rebuilding instead of restoration? Restoration is to make it like before. Rebuilding is, you can move forward. Rebuilding Indonesia's relations with Muslim and non-Muslim countries.
Okay.
What's happening here?
Yes.
You're showing us
Bicara.
you're showing us your WhatsApp now.
No, I think he wants to show something, bro.
Oh, okay.
I think he wants to show something.
Okay, Prof.
You want to type it, but this is
Yes,
recorded, so you can.
Okay.
Yeah. What's
Wait.
Kiko Prabowo bersatu, yes.
This is a topic of Wang Kun.
Is it
Right?
oh,
The
expression,
personal
infringement.
Yeah.
So this is
Just with no tension.
this is the third category. The third category, unintentional.
But that's different because this case is
Unintentional. Unintentional data exposure.
Come
by himself.
By himself.
Not
Yes, yes. Do you get what I said just now? It's for, so you are capturing his thoughts. Right? I said no. Muhammad, no, okay. So what Nasir's role or Nasir's contribution, Nasir's role, right? I think the word role or role is better because contribution sound a bit too positive, right?
Okay.
Right?
So the question two, the Nasir role to rebuild Indonesia with Muslim countries and non-Muslim countries, bro.
Yes. What are Nasir's role to the rebuilding of Indonesia, to the rebuilding of Indonesia's relations with Muslim countries and Muslim and non-Muslim countries?
Okay, good, prof. Good
Yeah.
suggestion.
Okay. After all, it is Nasir's thoughts, right? Okay. So you got all the research questions there? You got it? Okay.
Yes, got it. I got it.
Two more things, I think, or maybe three more things. Can you go to the next slide now? All right. You want to make sure that your research objectives correspond to your research questions. So
Yes,
research objective is to something, like research question, right? So research objective is corresponding to your research question, right? The next one.
Literature review.
All right. Okay. You have a lot of things very well laid out in your slides right now. I do have one important point to note, and this is actually for all of you actually. Whenever we research on somebody or something that we already have a positive view, right? In your case, you have a positive view of Nasir. Like my brother's case, Riza is a positive view about the tarikat. Like last time, Muzakir has a positive view of Universitas Muhammadiyah, right? We do not want to omit a very important aspect of the analysis, which is critical analysis, right? So you want to put in, not necessarily here, in your research and your analysis later on, a critical perspective. So you're not just highlighting the success story or the goodness or the strength, but you're also having a critical assessment, critical evaluation of the institution or the person or whatever you're studying, right? So you want to have that, Pizarro, so that there are problems, maybe shortcomings, maybe weaknesses, maybe criticisms of others, or your own evaluation that are critical as well, right? So do not want to omit that. Yeah.
Okay.
Now the last but not least is your methodology. Right? You want to specify further what your sources of data is. You said document analysis. You talk about archives. So you want to specify more in more detail what your documents are. So are you looking at reports? Are you looking at what is it? Newspaper coverage? That kind of thing. So you want to give some examples of the documents that you'll be searching for, right?
Yes.
And be prepared to also answer criticism or critique from others being the examiners, especially, or evaluators, right?
Okay.
When they ask you, your data, is it limited to Indonesia alone? Are you going beyond Indonesia? And how are you using the data beyond Indonesia, if you're using data beyond Indonesia, right? Because we are talking about a person with international dealings here. He has international involvement with Saudi, with Malaysia. How does Malaysia perceive, respond?
Yes.
Are you looking at those things or not? If not, then you got to be able to defend your methods, your methodology, your data, right? So this is a question you want to deal now, not during the Viva. Because you deal with the Viva, one thing you do not want to do is to go back and collect more data. Then it becomes the fourth or the third, at best the third. Fourth is resubmission, right? Resubmission meaning you got to collect data and resubmit. You do not want that. So you want to deal with this issue earlier on. right? You want to deal with this issue early on. Since you're now, it's not a big problem if you're studying somebody who's local. It's a challenge when you're studying with international figure, right? Like Muhammad Nasir.
Yes. Yes, Prof. I actually have plans to interview the outside Indonesia, particularly in Malaysia, in Saudi Arabia, and the region, because Nasir was popular in the Middle East and popular in Malaysia. Actually, Anwar Ibrahim is the one of the student of the Muhammad Nasir, and I have planned to interview him if I can.
All right. Yeah. Okay. So you need to be able to say why not go get newspapers from or whatever from Saudi, from Malaysia during that time. There's archives as well, so that will show the Malaysian response. I'm not sure. I'm not saying that you should, but I'm saying that you need to be able to respond if you do not look for those data. Right?
Okay, bro. Okay, bro.
Okay. All right. You make those changes. I think you'll be ready for your presentation on this Thursday. Right. The last point. Since you are doing online, make sure you have a backup system just in case you have problem with the system you're using. So you have another phone or another laptop or something just in case. And the sound, I think, is okay with me. Hopefully it'll be fine during the session on Thursday. Right? Okay, Pizarro.
Okay, thank you, Prof. Thank you very much for the suggestion.
Okay. Come back here soon, yeah?
Inshallah, Prof. I will come back soon. Actually, I have planned and contact Raji to using his kosan apartment, but I'm sorry because I have to surgery.
Okay, I tell you what, don't contact Raji. Go to Malang, grab Raji. Rather than bring him here. Tell him he can be with his wife later on after he graduates. He can be honeymooning with his wife.
Okay, Prof. Thank you, Prof.
Where's Raja? He's not even in. Raja.
It's Raja to something.
Is he still alive or what?
Why do you have to treat me like that?
I don't know what happened to Raja now. We'll take a couple minutes break. We'll be back with Hanif. Hanif has made presentation earlier on, so I think he has an upgraded one of this. Right? I'll take a couple minutes break. We'll come back.
Mana, Pak? Okay, everything okay?
Okay, Mas. Allah.
This is phone, and then the green one.
Shirley, how do you perceive?
US 牛肉好吃吗？
挺好的，可爱一块。And I met Hanif that day. For the
Oh,
day,
yeah.
That's my first time to go to M11, and then I just stand at the desk directly to the window, and then I can see the situation very clearly. 因为我第一天去那个自习室，坐在那儿在排队，正好看。
In the country, the students have not heavy homework.
什么？
什么？就是你们国家的那个学生
Homework? What do you mean?
have many homework.
No.
No.
For us?
Yeah, your country.
Oh, my country. Oh, I mean the students in my country.
Yeah.
I don't know because I experienced my student life in primary school, high school, not in Indonesia. Yeah, I studied in Malaysia.
Oh.
Yeah. since
You grew up
in Malaysia. Yeah, I grew up most of the time in Malaysia. So I'm not sure with the environment, the homework in Indonesia.
in Malaysia. Have the work.
Yeah, we have homework also. We have
So
homework.
I find this policy in Malaysia.
Last time I experienced that we have also homework, but
Alright. Okay.
yeah, that's the current
Sure, you can do
thing,
that.
education, Malaysian education.
Maybe it's just about generation gap
Do
between
they have
TCS
the new policy?
Not yet. Now they still follow this one.
It's the
The
new
current one, yeah, the current policy that they use. But for Indonesia, it's the one that I told you about the Kurikulum Merdeka. That's the current policy for
just
Indonesia.
because I'm trying to figure
The last time I
why
mentioned that, that's the latest one. The current policy.
and choose the same career path.
Yes,
So I want
that's good
to
too.
ask our doctor
Very
if
good too.
I can use this policy.
Yeah.
That one has just been good to use the doers and
Is yours?
Yeah.
culture
Wow.
capital
Mine is
Yeah, good. That's good too.
Apple
That, and if you have access later to that, then you want to.
I'm just going to be purely
Abdul
Qualitative.
Rahman.
Rahman.
Yeah.
the
Abdul
inside
Rahman.
Yeah.
perspective of the
Sis one two is my show name.
Family
Family
name.
name. Yeah, sis one two.
One of two.
Yeah, my family name.
Some family clinic as
Right.
Yeah.
Later you will have an official presentation for your course of meta knowledge.
Yeah, this methodology. This Thursday, me and Eugene will present. So
Yeah.
they actually we practice.
So later you will have an official presentation and all the teachers in our
Yeah,
center
with
will.
Dr.
Yeah,
Tang
that's
or-
the same. We've
I'm
already.
very brave.
I see. We've already experienced this.
Oh really?
Yeah.
How is it? How is it?
Last year, right?
Last year?
Last
Is
year.
it okay?
The first semester.
Is it okay? Just pass.
First semester of our
Yeah,
First
first
semester.
semester. This is also my first semester. That's why I know
Ah.
this.
So you, you are the master.
Master.
Master now. You are the candidate professor.
Yeah.
You can be a PhD tomorrow, but next year.
I will try.
Candidate.
It'd be fascinating.
If I can jump to PhD, I want to jump.
So I think you can. You can.
So this is the last semester of your master's.
It's original
First
too.
semester for your master's.
It's original
Yeah.
as well, I think.
see.
It's good.
And the next year you are going to.
Hopefully.
Alright, Hanif, you ready?
Yeah.
Oh, great one.
And the title remains the same, but the
Alright,
content
alright,
will be
okay.
different.
So doctor, do you want to chocolate?
Oh yeah, chocolate.
Chocolate.
Is
Where's the
Doctor.
chocolate from?
From the supermarket.
Is it Burnley?
Yeah,
Oh, Burnley. Burnley.
Burnley.
Almond.
I bought it yesterday.
I will eat it, but after 12 o'clock.
Ah, okay.
Okay.
I'm doing intermittent fasting. That's what it is.
Ah.
And
After.
why I come here because my medical report is not ready today. They asked me to go
Oh,
to there
really?
tomorrow, so
Alright.
I didn't go to IMCC, so I come here directly in Harry.
Okay. Yeah. That I want to get this done as early as possible so that they have time to improve and all that. So that's why I'm doing an urgent one. Otherwise,
So if you
It's too
have
short.
the time today, we can have the discussion.
Sure,
So,
sure.
Or tomorrow, it's dependent.
we'll arrange it. Yeah, arrange it. Okay, Hanif,
Oh,
your turn now this time.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's already your second presentation. Very good.
Okay. Very good. Morning to everyone. Still morning.
Don't be in the middle.
Yeah.
Happy.
So I would like to present one more time. This is my second presentation with Supervision with this title, Multi-Centric Migration Model in Education Facilities for the Children of Indonesian Migrant Workers, the case of Sabah, Malaysia. So this will be my outlines for the presentation. I'll begin with my background. So the migration of the people from Indonesia to Malaysia, especially Sabah in particular, it actually happens for many centuries. So in other words, there is the occurrence of the two contexts, which is it happens from the pre-Westphalian international system and the current Westphalian system of the nation-state concept. So in the current context, the international migration, we name it as an international migration because nowadays we have the so-called territory boundary. So we have domestic migration, international migration. But my study will be focused on international migration from Indonesia to Sabah. And in Sabah, the existence of Indonesian migrant workers causing the numbers of the children of Indonesian migrant workers to increase. And the result of that existence, so we have the so-called model of education facilities for the children of PMI or Indonesian migrant workers in Sabah. So this system, this is the model, this is my own figure that I created based on my fieldwork last time. So this is the one that is available in Sabah, especially for the children of PMI. And this is the location where the education facilities are available across Sabah and Sarawak. So and then I start with my problem statement. So we know that there are so many children of Indonesian migrant workers available in Sabah, and almost half of them also already received the education facilities from the government of Indonesia. But my main question is, why actually in Sabah they have such numbers of education facilities for the children of Indonesian migrant workers compared to other states in Malaysia? Why this system, the model of education facilities only available can be found in Sabah but not in the other states of Malaysia? In fact, Indonesian migrant workers actually not only exist in Sabah but even in Peninsula, Kuala Lumpur, Penang. There are so many Indonesian migrant workers, but we don't have that system similar to the one in Sabah. And that's why I come up with these research questions. So there are three. First is, what types of multi-centric migration models that link with education facilities for children of PMI in Sabah? Second is, why do some of these centric migration model respond to education facilities in Sabah? And the third is, to what extent or how a multi-centric migration model is suitable in explaining the existence of education facilities for children of PMI. These are some pictures. And my significance of study, there are three. The first is I would like to do my research in a way of explanatory research for the migration studies in Sabah, because previously most of the recent studies by scholars, most of them they conduct more towards the exploratory research, because what I see is that most of the researchers who do the research in Sabah, they are from the Indonesian institutions. So they have less background of information related to Sabah. But meanwhile, for me, as a researcher, I've been living in Malaysia for more than 10 years. And I did my bachelor degree in Sabah for 3 years. So I have more information. So that's why I like to do more in a different way from the others, which is the explanatory research. And the second is, I want to reintroduce the pre-Westphalian system discourse in Southeast Asia, or we call it Nusantara Malaysia, very good. Because later in chapter 2, I also want to discuss the workforce, or in current names is the migrant workers in Sabah, from before the colonial period, during the colonial, and at the current times, the workforce workers. And the third is, I apply sociological liberalism theory in migration studies, because in my research this time I would like to apply this theory, and this is a theory that what I've seen from the literature review, none of them have done this theory before, and there will be some theoretical framework that I would like to contribute in this theory that I will show later. And this is my literature review. I do in a way of thematic literature review, so there are 3 parts. The first will be more to the area of the study, also the history. Second will be the theories and concepts. This one, so in sociological liberalism paradigm or discourse, there are many theories and concepts in that particular discourse. So I also discuss about that. And the third is the theoretical framework. So, but however, in this presentation, I will only present the education facilities for children of Indonesian migrant workers literature review, because these are the only team that discussed within the 5 years previously, because the rest, most of the articles are since 1990s. Yeah. So in this particular team, after I reviewed several articles, so I compiled, and I found that there are several main topics that they often discuss. And the first is when they talk about international relations, they focus on the bilateral cooperation, how the Malaysian government, also Indonesian government, they cooperate to establish these education facilities for them. And also there is one study who studied about how undocumented citizens, actually there are many groups, and in fact the study found that Indonesian children actually are not as vulnerable as the other groups of undocumented citizens, such as the children of the Filipinos or the children of the orang asli in Peninsula, because the government of Indonesia, they still support the children of Indonesian migrant workers compared to the Filipinos or the orang asli. Also, previous studies, they discuss about the role of non-state actors, also the role of state actors, because both actors, they play significantly in establishing the education facilities. So those are the things that they discussed previously. And my methodology of the research, of course, I will conduct in a qualitative research, but with my logic of inquiry is a deductive research, which is a post-positivism, in which the research will begin with a theory or a hypothesis that I have. Then I will look for the data in order to test my hypothesis, and at the end of the research, I will justify or clarify whether I accept or reject the theory or the hypothesis that I apply, whether it actually can explain or not. So while in the methods, to collect the sample, I use a case study where I will focus in these 2 cities, Kota Kinabalu. Why Kota Kinabalu? Because Kota Kinabalu is the capital city of Sabah. Also Tawau. Why Tawau? Because Tawau is the area where they have border between Malaysia and Indonesia. So in both cities, also very important, because both cities, they also have the government representative of Indonesia, both cities. So in Kota Kinabalu, we have the Consulate General, while in Tawau, we have the Consulate of Indonesian Republic of Indonesia. And in order to get the primary data, I will conduct purposive sampling to each school, to one school that I will focus in each of the city. So for in Kota Kinabalu, I will focus in one school, as well as Tawau, I will focus on one school, and in that school, I will look for the 20 Indonesian migrant workers who have children study in that particular school. So each 20, so total will get 40. Meanwhile, for the interview in the KJRI or the KRI in Tawau, the consulate, I will interview 2 people in each consulate. The first is the social information and education officer. Another one is the liaison officer of CLC, or the learning centers of all CLCs across Sabah. So each city, they have their own, so I need to interview them. And so these are my last slide, and also which is I explained about the expected findings. So this is the theoretical framework that I designed. So if you remember the first research question, so in my first research question is that I will focus more in finding the independent variables. So in other words, the first research question will get the independent variables, and also the second research questions, I focus on the middle part, which is the intervening or mediating variables, to get the data from that. And my third research question is the upper one, which is how these transnational relations I mean, the process of migration will eventually affect the state authority, because theoretically of sociological liberalism, transnational relations will result the declining state authority. I mean, in other words, state is not the only actor, but we also have the multi-centric.
That's it, finally.
Ah, okay, wait. Yeah. So that's the thing of what I understand of transnational relations. It's not about state-centric, but they focus more on the multi-centric relations. How the multi-centric can influence the state to make such policy, which is the Sabah immigration policy. Why Sabah immigration policy different with the Peninsular Core immigration policy, and also why the government of Malaysia can establish these education facilities, but why not in Peninsula? So that's the meaning of declining state authority, which means the government somehow they just follow the interests of the multi-centric, the interests of the nation, the interests of the Indonesian migrant workers in Sabah. So I guess that's all for my presentation. Yeah, that's end my slides. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Hanif. Thanks a lot. And welcome back, Rajiv. Hey!
He will come back again soon.
His wife is calling me. His wife.
It's just coincidence.
Coincidence?
Yeah.
No, his wife. Rajiv, come pick up the clothes.
He's got in Penang. No, he's in Indonesia. He's in Indonesia.
Remarkable.
It took me like 2 seconds or something. He's honeymooning. Or washing clothes or something. I don't know which I do.
Married person. You cannot find him.
Okay. Framing what I want to say to you, Anif, I do not want to make a lot of changes from what you presented. I think we should get the feedback from what you presented. But, there are maybe later on we will look at certain things like the model and all that. At this point, the parts that might have some question is you go to your framework, there is the other one, right? So be ready to explain why do we have this circle and the arrow and all that, right?
I'm ready.
Okay, and usually the arrow would suggest some influence from one to another or causality, right? From one to another. If be able to explain. So this is not causality; it's just an arrow explaining that, right? So to be safe, if you do not have a causality or correlation or something like that, you just use arrow without lines without the arrows.
Okay.
Right. But be ready if they were to ask you why is there this line there, why is that line there, right? You know what? I think you have your reason for that, and you underline funded there, right? So yeah, and then just little things that teachers should be teachers, maybe, you know, things like that. Yeah, if they ask. But now you have research proposal, so they are not as strict, hopefully not. Okay, and then the problem statement, we go to the problem statement. Problem statement. Now, one thing about problem statement is that it leads to vacuum, a theoretical vacuum, right? So, what are the things that your research have identified as a vacuum in explaining why we have this phenomenon, right? So, you want to know, there's no theory explaining that yet, so you want to come up with research that helps with the theorizing of this phenomenon, of this situation, which is like this. Yeah, which we do have the rate there, right? So there's no theory explaining that yet. Or there's no model to explain this yet. Maybe they got models and to use models as theory because we are developing model, right? There's no model of theory explaining this this occurrence in Sabah, right? Okay, and then so this is true for you guys as well, yeah. So the problem statement and all that should lead to some kind of theoretical vacuum. Theoretical vacuum is different from empirical vacuum in the sense that empirical vacuum is about something that has not been studied in one particular place or space, but there's theory, but it's not explained. So this some research has been carried out in California, but has not been carried out in Guangzhou, right? It's empirical vacuum. But theoretical vacuum is that no theory has explained the phenomenon before. So at the higher level, you want to go with theoretical vacuum, right? Especially PhD. But masters would be very good to have that too, right? So there's a theoretical vacuum and empirical vacuum. So there is no theory or no model that explains this phenomenon, that explains the situation happening in Sabah. So that's the problem statement will be to that. Okay, and then you go to the significance of study. So maybe instead of reintroducing, you can use the word reintegrating, right? Reintegrating, so making it a more comprehensive understanding, leading to more comprehensive understanding of the reality in Sabah. And then you want to make it more consistent, you have reintroducing there or reintegrating there. So use the word applying as well. Applying, so applies. So explanatory research, since you have ing, so it's in formulating, developing, explanatory research. So it can be consistent as well. You want to go back to your research question? I don't want to touch a lot on what, because you have something there, and like Eugene, you want to change the major change will be after that. But so you have this one types. Question number 2. What do some of this centric migration model? What's centric there? Multicentric maybe. Centric. Number 2.
Yeah.
Centric migration model. What is that?
Centralization. Oh yeah, that one I mean is the independent variable, the centric. Yeah, it refers to multicentric, but I just write down centric only. Yeah, I can put multicentric.
Multicentric. You're looking at multicentric. Alright. But you have something to explain. To what extent multicentric? Okay. Instead of to what extent, remember I suggested this to it how.
Oh yeah. How does it explain all that? But I'm keeping my comments to you minimal so that I think you get through quite well with the presentation for this coming Thursday. So that's my input so far. So
but one thing I want to ask.
This one, expect the funding.
Because I'm planning to do the deductive research. So in deductive research, does it have to begin the research with the independent variables, or I can search for the independent variables during the research? I mean, to begin the research, do I have to fill up the independent variables, or I will get the independent variables later after I do the research?
You get it before that.
Before?
Yes, because your deductive research is where you actually have the independent and the dependent variable already. You're kind of testing it, right? So you can test different theories, right? you know, this theory will have 3 variables, for instance, right? This theory operationalizes your theory, so you can put 2 or 3 different theories, put that in your research, in your survey, for instance, right? So you see which one has higher correlation than compared to, you know, so you have maybe 9 variables there, they're all independent variables supposedly, and you can test and see which one lead to a stronger tie with the dependent variable. So you do already have your independent variable, so that makes it deductive. So deductive is about, you know, having it in all, and then you're testing it, testing it, and then from the test you're developing something better, stronger. And some might be independent, some might be mitigating or moderating variables. You need to know what the difference is between those two. So you want to put that in your model as well. So, so yeah, some variables are contextual, right? Contextual. Right? Some are actually the active variable that's influencing it. Contextuals or mitigating, or sometimes, you know, education and all that, right? Can be gender. Those things are almost a given. Might not be the active, the main variable, right? But sometimes many research, in fact, see, they make all those profile, you know, the profile, the age, the gender, the education, the income level, make that as the independent variable, and that's like low level research for me, not even real, because you're not looking at some real actions or real active variable there, right? So it's different. So
Where to get the independent variable
from your theory,
from the theory?
from the theory or theories, right? So you actually have certain thoughts or hypotheses or theories already in your mind. You're testing it, or you want to build from the different parts of the theories or different, and you're building a model and you're testing them, right? So yeah, that's why it's deductive. It's like taking all possibilities and then eliminating one and one and one and one, and the ones that are left are the ones that explain reality, or tentatively or temporarily explain the reality until the new theory comes in to prove to be better than this theory, right? So you got to get from that. But if you don't want to, then it's not deductive. You have to go from the social actors to be adaptive, be adaptive or inductive. Right? You want to get also social actors themselves, so that it can be inductive, it can be adaptive. Right? You still, you decide. No, I don't decide it for you, but then you decide your decision.
He already has his three
That's my what I think.
Your idea?
Yeah, that's my
No, you
that's
need
my
to
thought.
Go ahead. Yeah.
you need to do a literature review.
Yes.
See what's the theories is wrote about migration.
Yeah. Yeah. About social connection, about that. So and other things as well. Yeah. That's just deductive. Yeah. So you're deductive, and it actually makes sense as well, because there are theories out there who have written about something. So you can talk. But I'm not sure about their theories about establishing the CLCs. I'm not sure about theory about that, or definitely not a direct theory. I'm not sure, but you can look at different parts of theories that might explain it. Right. So from a CBO theory, community-based organization theory, right, explaining why is it being initiated from the community, for instance, or CSR theory talks about how companies provide certain facilities, certain resources. Might be theory there as well. From a more state type theory, which is government regulation, taking care of the welfare of the migrant workers and all. Jokowi came over, supposedly is highlighting the fact, right? It's easy to talk, but what resource are you providing? That's a question, right? We just came, I think, one month ago, couple of weeks ago. Yeah. Not sure. They rectify certain things, I think. I'm not sure. Anyways, those are the possible possible independent variables, so to say, yeah. But you still have the choice to make it adaptive if you want to, which means, or you can make it like what Eugene did just now, sequential. You start with qualitative first to find out what the variables are, right? Then you can start what the headmaster, the principal say, what the teachers say, what the parents say, what the students say, right? So you gather together all the possible explanation and then develop variables from there, and then we can actually test the variable, and that will be exploratory. Yeah. So the first part is actually, if you want to call it, you can call it adaptive or inductive, depending how you do it, of course. And the second part is deductive. So it's a mix mode. Oh, what happened there? Okay. We've seen that you have something there, so let the evaluators come back to you there.
Also program thing, the intervening, what I understand of intervening variables is, it is a variable that influence the independent variables to create dependent variable. So what I figured it out is that, what I'm thinking is that multicentric migration model actually is not only in Sabah, but it's also in Peninsula, anywhere, say. But the one that makes it different in Sabah and the other states of Malaysia is the intervening variables. So we have certain intervening variables such as bargaining position. Bargaining position here, what I mean is that because most of the type of working opportunity in Sabah is plantation sectors, and all palm oil companies, they highly demand workers from Indonesia. So they will do everything in order to make sure that they have the workers from Indonesia to come to Sabah. Because of that, actually the Indonesian migrant workers, they have the bargaining position. They also have power, to influence the palm oil plantations. And that's why the palm oil plantation, they provide education facilities, health facilities for them. Also another reason is because this is to make sure that their product, the palm oil, will not get the embargo from the European countries, because last time I interviewed the consulate, they said most of the products, oil palm products from Indonesia, become embargoed by the European countries. But in Sabah, it's accepted, because when the European countries, they come to Sabah and check the palm oil, the companies, they can explain why there's children in the plantation. Are they also working? That's an abuse. But then the plantation, they said, no, they're not working, they're just helping their parents, and they also have a school, so they're not working.
Yes.
Yeah, but in Indonesia, the plantation cannot explain, because we don't have these facilities. So that's why they have position. Also, in Sabah, we have Perkara 21. It's during the Independent Day in Sabah, 1963. I think Prof also know about why Sabah joined Malaya before the establishment of Malaysia. So they have the so-called Perkara 21, and one of the regulations is about immigration. So Sabah, they have more independent immigration.
Yes.
than in Peninsula.
Yes.
So that's why they,
Yes.
I think because of that they can do some different regulations than the Peninsula one. That's why they can allow the migrant workers to
Yes.
bring their dependents
Yes.
to Sabah. But in Peninsula that thing is not working. It's not allowed.
It's temple.
Yeah, even in Sabah, you know, Prof, if you know Isbat Nikah, you know anything, have you heard about Isbat Nikah? So the consulate of Sabah, Kota Kinabalu, we have the so-called program named Isbat Nikah. So many migrant workers in Sabah, when they come, they are still single, but then they get married when they work in Sabah with the other migrant workers, or sometimes with the local. But they only marry at the village, so they don't have any official documents.
Oh, okay,
they don't have
okay.
the proper documents from the government of Indonesia about their marriage. They just marry at the village. So the consulate, they make this program called Isbanika. So they will ask people of Indonesian migrant workers who married in the village to come to consulate and they make the remarriage again. They remarriage to get the proper document from the Indonesian government. And surprisingly, the consulate also invite local government of Sabah to see the programs Isbanika. That means this kind of things is allowed in Sabah. The marriage, having children. But in Peninsula, when the consulate of Penang, they cannot do this event like the Isbanika, because in Peninsula, if migrant workers married, they will be kicked out from the company. Because they cannot marry, they cannot have children in Peninsula for migrant workers, foreign workers. So that's what I see the difference.
Factory migrant workers. Factory migrant workers.
So that's what I think of. That's the intervening variable.
So now the word bargaining position. This is power perspective. So power perspective, the analysis. I talk about power. And IR will be realism. Power, right? But if you talk about bargaining as an action, right? So one can have a power, one can do bargaining, two separate things. But one who has power and bargain be better, right? But so you can look at bargaining as an action or bargaining position as a separate variable. These two variables. Can you see that? Yeah. Because sometimes it is out of bargaining, negotiating, right? You get what you want, or you get most of what you want, right? So, but the bargaining position has to do with power. So realism perspective is about, so liberalism will have a much more interactionist approach to analyzing the problem. So it's about relationship with how you communicate, what words you use, how you build the bond, that. So that will be the interaction, and that's a different school of thought, so to say. Right? But the realism in IR talks about power. Who has the power? And if you do not like, I have the power, I can still impose on you. I don't have to use nice language. I can use whatever language I want. You can still follow me because I have the power. So there's a power analysis. Right? So at this point, I would not worry too much about where you place which one, right? I do think that the bargaining part, the bargaining is actually a mitigating variable, right? The intervening variable, right? But the power is actually in the independent variable. The action, action is intervening. The power, bargaining power, is in the independent variable.
The power of?
The bargaining power is independent variable. So, I mean, if I have a lot of power, I don't even have to bargain. For instance, but bargaining, it's like what? Yeah, it's like you do not have a lot of power, but because you're good in bargaining, you can still get results. So you can shift the scale towards a stronger influence on the variables. As I told you all last time, right? I have students who his thesis was another grade, but because of his Viva, he upgraded, he get a better grade because of better communication. Right? So communication is important. But yeah. So
I have thesis about Iranian student here at immigration under government supervision. I will give you. Maybe.
Wow.
Yeah.
About?
Yeah, in my home.
about what I was asking?
About Iranian student migrate to Malaysia, about identity or language. Maybe good
Oh,
for
is
you.
this about that?
Yeah, this is about that. Maybe good for you, right?
Yeah.
So just remind me to
Okay.
understand.
Yeah. So yeah, I don't want to mess up with this too much at this point. And they want to present first. Let them say okay. Then we can have a deeper discussion about the possible variables and all that. Yeah, but I don't think bargaining is an intervening variable. But bargaining power is an independent variable. But again, you're talking about bargaining power of who? Like on both sides, right? So yeah, I do think CSR comes in here as well. Like what you also say just now is about the international standards.
Yeah, the standard.
The RSPO, responsible, RSPO, what is it? Palm oil, responsible. No. A round table of sustainable palm oil, RSPO, it's a standard, global standard. Yeah, they do come and you can visit. So that is another one. There's the global standards of labor standards of all they have a standard there, and that comes in CSR. Is integrated in that too. So especially for palm oil, it's highly monitored because they have a different agenda, right? They want to promote something else to fight against palm oil because they promote their oil. You're talking about Europeans, yeah. They'll find fault with something. Of course, their attack is on the orangutan. Right? Because palm oil destroys forests and the habitat of orangutan. But they can destroy human beings. You don't destroy orangutan.
Destroy human being.
But you can destroy human
You
beings,
cannot
kill human beings, occupy human beings for 10 years and then decide to go out after that, bomb people and all that, who cares?
Nuclear.
Well, they're the only power that uses nuclear bomb, right?
Yeah.
Twice, right? Okay, this is good. I think you have something to present. In fact, you don't even have to present the expected findings, but you can to get their feedback, right? You don't have to, because you need to go to research methodology. That will be sufficient. You can get the inputs on this one too. And then you get the inputs. You share your ideas and then share your inputs. And then here they might ask you why you ask migrant workers and not these people, not people. You need to be able to answer that. Yeah, you're talking about migrant workers here, right? So why not? Over there you have the considered, but how about the teachers? How about the parents? How about the students? Now I do have some other thoughts, but I think it should come after your presentation. I think the stakeholders are wider, bigger than this. Like I said, the religious group, and you found out that the church is a role, the church plays a role too. The religious group. So but at this point you have something solid, so you could get them to respond. But we can discuss further later on. Okay, it's 12:30. I can your chocolate now. Thank you so much. It's all map now. Because close to that, oh god.
Ah, it's too hot there.
It's too hot because it's hot air coming from here.
Oh yeah.
Come, have chocolate.
Do you want to put that?
Okay, thank you. Thank you. Thanks. Alright, what is that? Okay, we'll wrap up our session today. Now it's 12, started by 10 o'clock, right?
Yeah.
So, what is it? Yeah, this Wednesday there's events on. There's a professorial talk by Prof. Siva, and then in the afternoon in Sampris there's a talk by distinguished Professor Samsul. Distinguished professor is there are only like not many in Malaysia, maybe 4 or 5, not more than 10. So the higher level professor. Very high level professor. But you can meet him. I carried out research with him last time.
You will come here?
He will come here on Wednesday afternoon,
Oh.
2:30.
For what purpose?
A talk
Atau
on social cohesion.
at the meeting room downstairs.
I can go.
Okay.
Thank you.
One more.
Tadi.
So honey,
Yeah. Chocolate from
Li Yue.
yeah. Well,
What else?
Yue.
Yeah, and doctor, I'm wondering, I'm very surprised that whether Sabah is a very special place in Malaysia, because even in my passport, it will be written that you are permitted to go to the
Only 20 days.
west
20 days
place
only.
of Malaysia and Sabah.
Mm.
I don't know why Sabah just writes so ridiculous.
Yeah, because of formation Malaysia is made up in the independence. When Malaysia gained independence from the colonial master British, Sabah Sarawak was not part of it yet.
Yeah, still not part of
Singapore was
Malaysia.
part of Malaysia.
Uh-huh.
Malaysia, Singapore is one country.
Yeah.
Like 1957. Yeah. But in 1963, Singapore separated.
Yeah.
Sabah Sarawak
in.
joined in.
In.
Okay. But Sabah Sarawak was not part of the British system,
Yeah.
which is
Okay.
British government.
Yeah.
Sabah was
BNBC.
owned by
BNBC.
the British East Asia Company.
Yeah.
East Asia Company, India.
Yeah, India.
Yeah.
India company. Yeah. Whereas Sarawak is owned by a British family.
British family
You
king.
can come all over here,
Monarchy.
rule over whole Sarawak, colonize it, right?
So Sabah and Sarawak want to take the place at a congress, at a state congress,
Yeah, so they
taking place the Singapore's
In a way,
their
yeah.
austerity, their
Brunei was part of it.
legacy.
Brunei wanted to be part of it,
Yeah.
but Brunei eventually decided not to, right?
Yeah.
It's better to become richer
So it
alone.
seems like it's dependent place.
So,
it seems like.
so what they come up with that what Hanif has explained just now, the
Yeah.
perkara
Perkara 21.
item number 41, I think.
21.
21, item
So there are
41.
21 regulations.
Yeah, so that's your.
So they remain independent on the immigration issue.
Yeah.
For a long time, my parents were in Sarawak. We are not Sarawakian. When I visited Sarawak, this is like maybe 5-10 years ago. Right? This is way after independence, long. I have to bring my passport.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I go into my same country using a passport.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Malaysian, right?
It's similar to the Macau and Hong Kong in China.
Ah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's complicated to go to there.
Yeah.
When
You need a
some
visa to get
information,
there.
although
You need
it's
visa
a
to-
part.
But Hong Kong, they have autonomy, right? But Sabah Sarawak doesn't have autonomy.
Not strong autonomy. They have certain autonomy, like the immigration autonomy.
Oh.
They can say you cannot come in here. That's it. You cannot buy land
Something
there.
like decentralization.
Expedition.
Decentralization.
Decentralized.
Decentralization, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's different from autonomy.
Yeah. But Sabah Sarawak has a special status in that sense.
Yeah.
And I cannot buy land in Sabah Sarawak.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
You can.
So,
Cannot.
so
Cannot.
Sabah and Sarawak, they said if you want me join the United of the Malaysia, and you have to keep the independence of our states
Yeah.
and the legal system and administration system.
Similar to Hong Kong and Macau.
Yeah. Similar.
but
Similar.
not the same.
No, it's not the same. It's not the same.
Not the same, but
It's
similar.
not quite the same.
Well,
Yeah.
Hong Kong was part of China. Then
Yeah.
British came and take it away. This is not.
Yeah.
Where in a
Thank you
way.
for your saying that, but many people don't think so.
No,
Oh
no.
no, it's really a part.
Hong Kong was part of China. Taiwan is part of China. Macau is part of China. You know. Yeah.
So Sabah sort of like aligning with Malaysia.
They form a federation.
Not by colonizing force, but
No.
they are willing.
Yeah.
They want.
It's still colonization.
Still colonization.
Yeah.
But different colonizers.
It's a neo-colonization.
One is a company, no? Sabah is a company.
Yeah.
Sarawak is a family.
Yeah.
Both still colonizer.
Yeah.
Malaysia
Was it
is the British government.
James Brooke?
James Brooke.
But
Yeah.
I mean, is the colonialism British, whether
Canton of
monarchy or
Canton of Nine.